Greetings, and greetings. This is Brent Long, Long on Life. We are continuing down the path of the 7 steps to sales excellence. We are on step number 5, what makes for a happy fish. I got my hat on backwards today because I am getting more and more intensely focused on the coaching of this particular section. And I'm going to read a few things right from the screen of my laptop here. So if you see my eyes darting back and forth, that's quite honestly, that's why. I don't really want to stare directly into the camera today because yes, and yes, I am excited about this aspect, this portion of our curriculum. Again, this is step number 5 of the 7 steps to sales excellence. What makes for a happy fish? Okay, so a couple things real quickly as a review. You have identified the fish, step number 1. You have prepared for the catch, that's step number 2. You have approached the waters, that's step number 3. And you have started the fishing expedition, meaning you're getting permission to interview the prospect, the fish, the potential client, and you're getting ready to go through the discovery process to determine whether or not this fish is even a keeper, or whether you should throw it back into the marketplace. And last video we did talk about your focus, your compassionate, caring heart that focuses solely and intentionally on the solution to their problems and the accomplishment of their goals. And today, I'm going to read from my workbook a couple items about that particular process and how we are going to navigate through that part of the process. Okay, so you are going to make a pain or a gain determination. When you go fishing and you are jumping into the dialogue with your fish, with your prospects and potential clients, you are there to make a pain and a gain or a gain determination. Again, just real quickly for review, pain, the problem that they have that you can get paid to solve, so that you can acknowledge and assess that problem, so that you can discuss the implications of living with that problem, so that jointly together you can achieve closure by determining the next step. That's the pain determination. The gain determination is on the goal side of the equation of the relationship. You identify the goal that they're trying to accomplish. Maybe the problem is preventing them from accomplishing the goal. Your job is to live in the tension between their problems and their goals. That should all just be a reminder from the previous videos. But now you go through the same process. You acknowledge and assess that goal. You discuss the implications of achieving that goal and or the implications of not achieving that goal. And then you jointly together to achieve closure, determine the next step. You don't have to go through the sales process with the ABCs of selling, which people teach you always be closing. No, I don't believe that that is effective and that it works, because it puts too much pressure on the environment. It puts too much pressure on the prospect and the fish, the client, whatever you want to call them. In this analogy, I call them the fish, right? Because they know that you have been taught to always be closing. I teach always be opening. The ABOs of selling, always be opening. Meaning, as we go through this dialogue, you're working to achieve closure so that you can open up the next phase of the relationship development from there. If you're putting pressure on them from the very beginning to buy from you today, which is what always be closing does, then it's very difficult for them to be willing, it's a hard issue, to commit to the next step. Now, oftentimes their willingness to commit to the next step says, why don't you go back to your office, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson, and jump through a whole bunch of hoops, putting together an elaborate proposal for me that I can ignore for the next 18 months. And that is something that we are definitely trying to prevent from happening. So at this stage in the game, so to speak, when we are trying to determine what makes the fish happy, solving their problems and accomplishing their goals, I advocate for my clients, those coaching clients that I'm working with, to prepare and present a solution only if the next step warrants it. I do not encourage them to ever prepare or present a solution if the committed next step does not warrant it. What do I mean by that? Well, this is what I mean. Now that I have dialogue with you today, how about I go back, jump through a whole bunch of hoops, put together an elaborate proposal, send it to you via email, and then follow up with you for the next 18 months while you're hiding from me and you ghost me because you don't want to discuss the proposal. That happens way too many times in the sales process. Okay? So all that to say is I advocate for my clients, my coaching clients, only prepare and present a solution if the next step warrants it. Now, next step is capitalized. Why? Because there is a definition of the next step. What is the definition of the next step, Brent? Next step, an agreed upon time and topic. Agreed upon time, agreed upon topic of what we are going to do together next. This is what it might sound like. Okay, now that we've discussed the implications, what are you, Mr. or Mrs. Fish, prospect, potential client, what are you willing to do next? Well, I would be willing to entertain a proposal. Great. I'm happy to put a proposal together. Get out your calendar and identify the date when you want me to bring that back. Oh, no. I don't want you to bring the proposal back to me. I want you to send it through the email so that I can take it and shop it with all your competitors. Well, then I'm not willing to put the proposal together. Yes, this is called salty sales training, and we practice the saltiness of our sales training throughout the 7 steps to sales excellence. I advocate for my clients that if you want to have a clear future, if you want to have a determined next step, if you want to have closure and agreement after every one of your sales calls, only take the next step when it is warranted. Don't offer to do a whole bunch of stuff that don't require your prospects and potential clients to have any form of a commitment. Now, some of the things that you're going to want to do: situation analysis. You're going to want to make recommendations. You're going to want to discuss and talk about the investment. You're going to want to talk about an implementation schedule if that is part of your sales process. The idea here is when you are preparing and presenting a solution, you need to get closure on every point before proceeding, right? So in this particular situation, I've analyzed this particular situation, and then you try to get closure on that particular issue. All right, here's some recommendations. How about we discuss these individually? What are your thoughts on all these recommendations? What are your beliefs about these recommendations? Are there any other recommendations that we should anticipate or that we should discuss? Get points, get closure on every one of those recommendations. Okay? Again, prepare and present your solution only if the next step warrants it. Because what's coming next is an either or. Either we are going to sign the contract or we are not. But we have to be in agreement before we get there. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have room for what I would call final negotiations. It doesn't mean that we won't, make some concessions here and there on both sides of this equation and both sides of this relationship. It just means that we're getting ready to sign a contract for a sale and a purchase. And we have to be in agreement on all of these points before we do so, or it is very easy for them to back out of the negotiations and shut down. This is where salty sales training comes into play. Remember, SALTY is an acronym. SALTY is an acronym. It is the 5 characteristics of the greatest sales question ever asked that you and I and all professional salespeople have to learn. Straightforward, simple, easy to understand, not complicated questions, aimed at the heart, not the head. People make their commitment in their heart, not in their head. They logically justify the decision that the heart has already made. They logically justify that in their head. Okay? Leading, it must be leading them to a known solution. Quite honestly, oftentimes the known solution is standing right in front of them, or sitting right in front of them, or sitting right next to them, asking them the questions in a timely fashion. There must be some form of timeliness, sense of urgency. We have to understand what their time frame is. They have to understand what our time frame is. So we're asking these salty questions. The T stands for timely or timeliness. And they must be powerful enough that you can see the yield, salty, Y, the yield. Each question must produce a result. We should see them coming towards us. We should see them backing away from us. Way too many salespeople who call themselves professional salespeople don't ask salty questions. They're not salty enough, which means they're getting no yield out of their questions. They ask a question and they can't tell whether that did anything for the prospect or not. The prospect doesn't move. The prospect doesn't waver. The prospect doesn't come towards you. The prospect doesn't move away from you. And then they leave that sales call and the prospect is now stuck. And that is the fault of the salesperson. I will never, ever blame that on the prospect. By the way, if you're in my coaching class and I'm coaching you, your prospects and your clients are not in the room. I can't coach them. But if you're in the room, you're the one I'm going to work on, because it's your behavior that I'm trying to change. I can't change their behavior. You honestly can't change their behavior. But if you change your behavior and go back out into the marketplace, these people will respond to you in a different fashion. They will change their behavior because you're no longer interacting with them like the stereotypical salesperson does. So remember, salty, straightforward, aim, leading, timely, yielding. 5 characteristics of the greatest sales question ever asked. All that because what we want to be able to do is achieve closure on every point in every meeting that we have moving forward. All right. Now, again, this all fits underneath step number 5 of the 7 steps to sales excellence. What makes a happy fish? We're going to camp out here for a little bit longer, probably at least 1 more video, maybe 2 more videos. And we're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into even the types of questions that you can ask that they all fit under the characteristics of the salty question, the greatest sales question ever asked, the saltiness of that question. But there are certain types of questions we use to navigate deeper and deeper into this relationship to find out if they have a problem that we can help them solve and a goal that we can help them accomplish. For now, thanks for tuning in. Good luck, good selling, and God bless.